I'm Jess Sargus, high-performance speaker, certified mental performance mastery coach, and your guide to mastering your mental game. I went from Ivy League trained attorney to undefeated MMA fighter and back again. Now I help high achievers in any field live with fierce agency, deep alignment, and the power to win consistently when it matters most. You can do it all when you train your mindset, energy, and focus like elite athletes. That's why this is the Legal Athlete Podcast, where each week I use neuroscience, performance psychology, and real-world battle-tested strategies to help you unlock sustainable excellence, bold decisions, and the courage to show up each day as the badass you are. Green light. Let's go. Welcome back to the Legal Athlete Podcast. I'm Jess Sargus, and today we're stepping into a topic that so many high performers misunderstand, and that's boundaries. People think boundaries are somehow petty, that they're meant to control other people's actions. They are not. First of all, that's impossible. And remember, here at the Legal Athlete, we control what we can control. And that's ourselves. That's right, boundaries are for you, not for other people. Boundaries aren't arbitrary walls or punishment or ultimatums. Boundaries aren't to manage other people. They're to keep you from betraying yourself on what really matters. So let's get into it. Boundaries are how you maintain your clarity, focus, and integrity. They're the scaffolding of your self-trust that keeps you from abandoning yourself and your goals. Know this, high performers aren't defined by how much they can martyr themselves and their vision for others. That's not badass. High performers are the people who lead themselves with confidence, determination, focus, and clarity. And boundaries are your secret for all of that. So today we're digging into them so you can stop abandoning yourself with people pleasing and start leading yourself with fierce agency, like the badass you are. So I think the simplest analogy for boundaries is to think about them like a bowling alley. You're aiming down the lane towards your pins, your goals, your vision for your life. But what happens when you don't have bumpers? Well, if you bowl like me, you end up in a gutter about half the time. No strike, no pins down. Your goals are still untouched at the end of your sight line. But what if you have bumpers in the gutters? Well, boundaries are your bumpers that make it impossible for you to veer into the gutters where you are certain you don't want to be. They don't make bowling a strike easy, but they do make it more possible. They keep you in your lane so that the energy you pour out has an exponentially higher chance of actually hitting your target. Let's zoom out from the bowling alley now, just to your real personal boundaries. These are the contract that you make with yourself that keeps you from sabotaging your own goals and needs. Without them, you leak time and energy into people and projects that don't serve you well. You betray your growth, your goals, and fulfillment. You get derailed into life gutters, and it costs you more than you think. It's not just your ability to make progress towards what matters most in your life. Failing to have and enforce boundaries doesn't make you a good and righteous person. It wastes your time and your energy, and it makes you a paler version of yourself. You're not the CEO of your life anymore. You've demoted yourself to something like a middle manager. And here's the truth. Pleasing others at the expense of your dreams and self-respect is an abdication of your responsibility to yourself. It is the opposite of self-leadership. It is giving up your agency. And it's not just that it derails your goals and your freedom. It impacts you at every level of your optimal performance pyramid, your physical, mental, emotional, and ability to put everything you've got into your purpose. So here's where boundaries and neuroscience collide. This is the neuroscience of betraying yourself, essentially. When you say yes, when you really mean no, or you abandon your goals for someone else's, your brain knows it. That gap between what you believe and how you behave is called cognitive dissonance, and that sets off a full body cascade of negative consequences. Your brain and your body treat it like an existential threat because it is. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain that's wired to detect errors and conflicts, lights up in cognitive dissonance like a warning system. The amygdala kicks in, flooding your body with cortisol, your primary stress hormone. And suddenly, you're not just off course mentally. You are compromised across your entire optimal performance pyramid. On the physical level, your elevated cortisol keeps your body in fight or flight mode. Over time, it disrupts your sleep, can raise blood pressure, and suppress your immune system. Instead of having the stamina to perform like an athlete in the courtroom or boardroom, or even enjoy your friends, family, and hobbies, you feel physically drained, inflamed, and run down. You're kicked into survival mode. On the mental level, chronic cognitive dissonance hijacks your prefrontal cortex, the seat of focus and decision making. It narrows your cognitive bandwidth. That's why it's hard to concentrate or be creative when you're out of alignment. Your brain is too busy wrestling with this error message of betraying yourself to think most strategically or execute with clarity. That means more distraction, more mistakes, and less creative problem solving. It's like trying to play chess while your brain is screaming, danger. On the emotional level, you feel anxious, irritable, even resentful. When your nervous system is in constant alarm mode, small stressors feel bigger and relationships suffer because deep down you know you're betraying yourself. That emotional static makes it hard to regulate your mood and to bounce back under pressure. And that's why boundary leaks often show up as emotional leaks. You snap, withdraw, or spiral. Or most damaging of all, chronic dissonance erodes your self-trust, your relationship with yourself. It can even end up making you feel a bit depressed or hopeless. And then on your spiritual level, your purpose, this is the deepest cut. When you abandon your boundaries, you disconnect from your sense of purpose. You fracture your sense of identity and meaning, and you start to wonder, whose life am I really living? That disconnection is corrosive. It breeds burnout and emptiness instead of fulfillment. Psychology and neuroscience call it cognitive dissonance, but I call it self-abandonment. Either way, the cost is the same. You're throwing sand in the engine of fierce agency. So when you betray your boundaries, you might think you're just being nice, low maintenance, or keeping the peace. What you've really done is disrupt your peace, and you've taken an all systems hit. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you are dimming your own light, and your body, your mind, and your mission all pay the price. You feel anxious, restless, drained. You can't focus. It's not weakness, it's biology. It's psychology. It's your nervous system literally trying to tell you, hey, we're out of alignment here. We're betraying ourselves. And if you repeat that cycle enough, you don't just feel stressed. You start to erode self-trust. You stop believing your own word and undermine your self-worth. And that is poison for high performance and happiness. So let's get to the good part. Here's the reframe. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're self-leadership. When you hold your boundaries, you're not saying, I don't care about others. You're saying, I care about my mission, my integrity, and my ability to show up fully for what matters most. Boundaries are scaffolding. They hold you up when life gets complicated or heavy. They give you the space to recover, refuel, and recommit daily. They're the promises that you make yourself to have your own back, no matter what, non-negotiable. Without boundaries, you become a pushover. With them, you become a badass. And that's the choice. Are you going to leak energy until you collapse with your real goals still off in the distance? Or are you going to lead yourself like the CEO of your life that you are? So how do we do this? Here's how you can start building your own badass boundaries today. First, find some mental quiet, some stillness. Allow yourself to be unoccupied for at least 30 minutes. Really think deeply, get in touch with yourself, and then write down your top 3 goals or needs. They could be health, a key work project, your relationship dynamics, any or all of it. Give yourself that quiet space to really ask and answer, what is it that I really want and need right now to be living the life that I want, to be pursuing the goals that matter to me? Once you know that, once you've set those pins up at the end of your alley, number 2, set your bumpers. Decide in advance what you will and will not say yes to so that you can protect your time and your energy from projects and people who don't help you advance toward that life and the goals that you've set. Start practicing simple phrases like, I'm not available for that, or that doesn't align with my priorities. And then third, do a dissonance check. Each night, ask yourself, do a little check-in. Did my actions align with my values today? If not, that's not a signal to start beating yourself up. Instead, it's your coachable moment. If you know that you might have been out of alignment, ask, where did I abandon myself? That reflection builds awareness, and from that awareness, you can make the decision to do it differently tomorrow. Each day is your fresh start, armed with the knowledge of your honest assessment of how you can be a better friend to yourself and your goals. Coach and lead yourself with honesty and kindness, and try to be just 1% better, 1% more aligned each day. Keep reassessing and moving forward into greater and greater alignment and firmer and more confident boundary keeping. And then finally, this is really key, celebrate your enforcement. Every time you hold a boundary, notice the energy and the confidence that you gain. That's your reward loop of self-efficacy in action. That's progress. Celebrate yourself. Feel the ease and the certainty that comes from that integrity. That's going to fuel your badass boundaries for the long run. So here's the final thought for this week. Boundaries are not cages. They are high-performance channels. They're not for other people. They're for you. They don't keep life out. They keep your focus in, your goals front and center, and your self-leadership strong and confident. So stop abandoning yourself. Stop leaking your energy. Instead, lead your life with clarity, with courage, with fierce agency, because you get one life. You deserve to live the one you actually want. You don't have to apologize to anyone for being your own CEO. Own your power, badass. Green light. That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Legal Athlete Podcast. If today's episode fired you up or gave you something to train with, hit follow, leave a review, and share it with a fellow high achiever who's ready to raise their game. Want to bring this energy to your team, firm, or event? Or are you ready to train for your next high-stakes moment with me directly? Click the link in the show notes to connect. I'm Jess Sargus, and I coach the bold, lawyers, leaders, and anyone ready to lead their life with fierce agency. Green light. Let's go.